Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hello, and welcome everybody. Welcome to my show. This is Balanced Life with me, your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle, on conversations that connect to a healthier you. We do shows all about things that bring wellness into your life, whether it's a product or a service like the show we're going to talk about today. We hit all those little elements that become full circle to create balance, to help you kind of get more information. That's my goal, is to help you get more informed about how to live a well-balanced life. So, as always, I want you to become part of this conversation. So if you're watching live, you have the opportunity to call in and talk with me and my guests. So to do that, you want to call 323-524-2599. Again, 323-524-2599. And you can ask a question, you can make a comment, you can give a testimonial if you're one of my guest clients. I would love to hear from you, and so would she. So that would be really fun. And the other way to comment or to keep the conversation going with us is to go to my Facebook page, which is Balanced Life by Debbie. And there we are streaming live right now. You can make a comment, ask a question, and then after the show, myself or my guest will get back to you. Now, having said that, I want to let you know that I am a health, nutrition, wellness coach, fitness instructor, and personal trainer, and I'm here to help you. I do classes on Zoom. I do health coaching one-on-one as well as group coaching, and that is to help, again, live that balanced life. And I also do personal one-on-one training on Zoom or group training, whatever it is that you would want. So to get a hold of me, you want to go to my website, which is balancedlifebydebbie, DEBI.com. Again, that's balancedlifebydebbie, DEBI.com. Just go ahead and subscribe and let me know that you're there. It comes to my email and I get right back to you. And that's how I've gained a lot of clients. So I really want to work with you, and I got free consultations that last an hour. So let's try to see if we can get together. All right. So today I've got a show that's near and dear to my heart because, as you know, I like to do shows time and time again on exercise. And for me, I like to highlight different forms of exercise on my show. And as you know, my passion for fitness has led me to reinvent myself and turn my career around to health and longevity. And without a doubt, exercise plays a pivotal role in the quality of life. One form of exercise that can improve cardiovascular health, aid in weight loss, increase muscle tone, improve reflexes, agility, balance, and flexibility, not to mention the improvements in focus, stillness, and self-confidence, is martial arts. My guest today, June Castro, is a master in several forms of martial arts, including a 10th degree black belt and a grandmaster in the art of Shannon Kenpo karate, which I know I just annihilated that name. For over 2 decades, she has been a Muay Thai and boxing coach, as well as being certified in Bruce Lee's JKD. June is currently the host of June Castro's Fit Fight Boot Camp, a 1-hour fitness-based television show. She is also the owner, along with her husband, of Sit Yang Tong, a state-of-the-art fighters gym and training center in Monrovia, California. So, here today to talk all about this and her efforts to empower women through self-defense training, will you please welcome my guest, June Castro, to the show. June. Woo, woo.
Hey.
Hi, June.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
Ah,
We did
thank you.
massacre. We did massacre a few things. The art is Shaolin, like Shaolin Temple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Shaolin Temple Karate. Bruce Lee's his form, his martial art was JKD or Jeet Kune Do. And
Okay, and we're going to talk about all the different forms of martial arts and along the way here, because yeah, I knew I was going to annihilate stuff, but I have so many questions for you about all the different types of martial arts and you know, along the way. But first, I want to, number one, thank you for being here, and thank you for being so flexible that we weren't able to be in the studio today. It is Thanksgiving week. As you know, I have a new granddaughter, and I want to be with her this week. And in order to do that, I've isolated myself very, very big this last week. And with the high level of COVID cases, I just knew that it was really important that I not go indoors. So thank you for doing that. And I want to say that we have a mutual friend.
Okay.
She's one of my personal training clients, and we're going to give a shout out to Stephanie Chazan right now. Yay, because I've known Stephanie for quite a while. And ironically, Stephanie and I met in a kickboxing class.
Oh.
And so we do kickboxing sessions one-on-one because we both are kind of pretty efficient in it, not, you know, professionally, right, but, you know, for fun, because it was like a typo class, right, where we met and then we continued. And then I started subbing for that class, and she came up to me one day in the gym, and I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was about 8 years ago. So we've been together, and I train her kids now, and Skip is the only one, her husband, who I haven't gotten the gym yet, but I will, I'm working on him.
Real skipping.
Yeah, yeah, and I know you know Skip because of your show. So you know what I'd like to start with, if you've seen my shows, I love your backstory. I love where you grew up. I love how you grew up in a family of martial artists and who your dad is and all of that. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got into this at a very early age.
Into the martial arts. I'm originally, I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. And growing up, people would always say, why did you ever leave Hawaii? But I was 6 months old, so I didn't have much in that. So just, like I said, raised in San Francisco. And I did have a very unique childhood because my father, Ralph Castro, was a very famous martial artist and a great grandmaster, and the founder of Shaolin Temple Karate. My father also was the first person to open up a Kempo Karate school in Northern California. And we're talking about the late 50s, early 60s, where that's what he did. That was his passion.
What is your father's background or nationality?
My father is half Hawaiian and half Latin. My mother is first generation Filipino. They met, well, my father was in the service, and they met in San Francisco. 6 months after they met through mutual friends, they were married. My father passed away a year ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know, yeah, so. Listen.
I know you were close. I've done a lot of research on you, and
yeah,
I know.
And my parents would have been married over 60 years, 7 children. Of course, I'm the favorite. That's a running joke. Anyone who comes from a large family.
Aren't we all in our family? There's 4 of us, and I always say I was the favorite. Yeah.
Hi, I'm the favorite daughter. But yeah, my father, like I said, opened up a martial arts school, the first Kempo Karate studio in Northern California. He taught all the classes. My mother ran the front office. So the karate studio was really our daycare. And then after school, it was where we took naps on the hardwood benches, did our homework with the roar of training in the background. Our friends were students, we were just there so much. And the weekends, we competed in local tournaments. I kind of sum up my childhood, kind of Brady Bunch meets Karate Kid meets Enter the Dragon. So it was very unique. And when we talk to people and I talk to people about it, so how was that? That was just the norm. And if it's the norm, that's all you know. And it was really great and got to experience a lot. One of the things, of course, my father taught me so much, but one of the things he really instilled in me is to take your martial arts training and to utilize it in every aspect of your life. Sometimes you'll have some people who are great and they just keep it in the four walls of their school or their studio, but to be able to translate that in every aspect, to be fearless and not to be afraid, to have that confidence. And again, confidence is something that you cannot fake it till you make it. You can't buy it. You can't steal it. You got to earn it.
I completely agree with you. And I think, and this is one of the reasons why I do what I do, I think when you have control of your body, inside, outside, your mind, all of the ways that we connect, I think when you have that, you have confidence. You have a form of confidence. When you feel something amiss, when you feel out of control, when you feel off balance, off kilter, that's when there are missteps, and that's when you just where people can give up on certain aspects, like their diet, not exercise, their sleep starts to suffer, and then everything in their body starts to go downhill. Having control and it is confidence, really.
Right.
And
it's a process. Confidence,
exactly.
and whether you're training for self-defense or for fitness, it's a process. And the first process is you got to do the work. You have to do it. You can't talk about it. You do the work. The second step is you learn from your mistakes, and that's okay. You get knocked down, you step back up, or you go off your diet. All right, there's tomorrow. You go back on it. So you do the work, you learn from your mistakes, and then you step up to the challenges.
I agree. Spoken like a true teacher and leader, I must say. You can feel it and sense it within you. Let's, from your childhood, there are many forms of martial arts. And so from the get-go, what was it that you learned right away? I mean, because you're a grandmaster black belt, I also want to get into what the belts mean and how those work out in the Muay Thai versus regular karate or kickboxing or MMA fighting, all those different sort of titles or genres of fighting. I kind of I don't really understand it that well. I just took Taibo and thought, ooh, this is fun. I'm dancing and boxing,
well,
you know?
Enough, Taibo is a Taekwondo, that's a Korean art, predominantly kicking. And what Billy Blanks did is combine that with, he said boxing, but it was more like a fitness kind of boxing. So that's really what Taibo was. So he combined Taekwondo with a boxing fitness to fitness. So
I would have known that. Okay.
That's where Taekwondo comes from. Karate is an ancient art that originated in Japan, Okinawa. It really came to the US, want to say what, 30s to 40s, but it was really, really new. What made it more popular was after World War II, because so many of the servicemen were stationed overseas. So a lot of them were able to get exposed to it. And one of the first gateways of karate or judo was through Hawaii. So from Hawaii, that's where you had a lot of the arts there. And that's where it came to the mainland. So that's what my father had learned. So karate actually translates into empty hand fighting.
Is that what that means? Yes. It means empty hand.
And actually the pronunciation is karate.
Karate. Okay, I've heard that said before. Yeah,
but here, I grew up with it as karate, but the actual pronunciation is karate. And except there are so many different martial arts. And let's talk about, say, the difference between Muay Thai and boxing. I mean, sometimes people are like, oh yeah, I know about that art, Muay Thai. And I was like, Muay
Thai. It's a drink. Yeah.
So when I tell people the difference with kickboxing, and I'm talking about American kickboxing and Muay Thai. American kickboxing originated in the 70s from full contact karate and boxing. So that's kind of how that got together. Muay Thai can be considered the ancient art of kickboxing. It goes back thousands of years. And another difference is rather than just punching and kicking, they punch, they kick, they knee, they elbow, they do standing grappling. Muay Thai is also known as like the 8 limbs because of the punching. They had the elbows, knee, and kicking. And it's a ring sport, just like boxing. That's been done for thousands of years. And one interesting thought about Muay Thai. Muay Thai originated in Thailand. It's their national sport.
So,
as Muay Thai, yeah, as popular as say the NFL, the NBA, all of our sports for Thailand, it's all combined. That's their number one sport is Muay Thai. And interesting enough, Muay Thai is a country that's never been colonized and never been taken over. So you got to wonder why. You know, those guys are around. So
they're fighters. They can defend themselves.
Yeah. And the thing with an art like Muay Thai is that it's proven because they fight. They prove it every day in the ring. Now it is a sport, but there's still contact. One of the reasons I gravitated with all the other arts I trained in when I was training in Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do concepts, I trained in Muay Thai, formal boxing, Sabat, that's a French style of kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Filipino Kali. But why I gravitated to Muay Thai and say boxing was because you cannot get good, really good, doing 5, 6 different arts. Well, I'm saying I can't. And I was okay, but I'm not okay with just being okay. And especially after the year of training.
See that.
So I had to what? I had to focus. And I gravitated to Muay Thai and boxing because of the conditioning training. That was one of the first things, because fighters got to be in great shape, not just, oh, I won, but it's a dangerous sport. You win by knockout. That's how you win. You win by knocking the other person out. So it's a dangerous sport. So their conditioning has to be high level. And then the street application of Muay Thai or combat sports in the ring. We're talking about boxing and Muay Thai in the ring.
So that's with rules, what you're talking about, with rules.
The ring sport. But still, with the ring sport, you win by how? By knocking the other person out. Or a technical knockout with the referee stopping. So in those sports, in the ring, what they call ring sports, you are moving, you are hitting, or you're being hit. That's it. What happens in the street? You are moving, you are hitting, you're being hit. Also with these type of combat sports, you develop that mental toughness, the physical toughness that's required for that type of sport. And then you're training so specifically and so precisely and aggressively and strong, and you're not just doing it in the air. You're hitting pads, you're hitting bags, you're hitting, and you've done some of that kickboxing, so you see how you can't just do something in the air. You have to be able to apply it. And how do you apply it without hurting your partner, getting them all upset? And you go full out on equipment. And then it goes up a step level where the pad holders, a little bit more experienced, where you have your coaches, they're not just standing there like a bag, they're throwing stuff at you and you have to move. You have to move and hit. So it gets into different levels. But
wow.
Great art.
It's I know, and it's pretty much, we'll talk about this, a male-dominated sport. And here you are, this young, and let's face it, you're very petite. We saw the pictures when you were younger. For those that are just listening to the podcast, June is a very petite woman, which meant you were a very petite child. And so, so you kind of were working against not being, not having the stature in the first place. You really probably, and you were female in a male-dominated sport.
Yeah.
Talk to that a little bit, and how you've gotten really around that male domination of it. And you do these seminars, which we're going to get into, in self-defense for women and help to empower women. Talk about how you broke through the ranks of that.
I mean, it was challenging, and it still is. And like you said, it's a male-dominated sport, or art, even the martial arts, all of it. But because I started when I was so young. I had to deal with that. And it is challenging. But like any and all challenges, you have choices. You can quit and you cry and it doesn't change anything. You can whine and complain, still doesn't change anything. Or you could push through and make your mark.
Did
And
you like it from the beginning? Did you, I mean, you grew up in a family where it was part of your life. You know, you were sitting there watching classes after school. Did you, from the very beginning, like it? Or
I did. It was like, it was, you know, when you're really young, just kind of, well, you're watching it. Of course, you can't wait to start it. And all my brothers and sisters, we all were into that, and we loved it. I loved the competition aspect too. And I'm left-handed, and in karate, they don't make an allowance like, say, boxing. If you're right-handed, you're in what's called an orthodox stance. And if you're left-handed, they switch you to southpaw. But with karate, it wasn't like that. So I struggled. It was tough. But again, what do they say? You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So it was very frustrating. So I couldn't do all, you'll see all those forms. So I could do it, but it didn't look very nice just because I had a difficult time. And what I ended up excelling towards was the sparring. And at the time, girls did not fight boys. It was just the boys who did. And I remember the Saturday class where the last half there would be sparring. And I remember the first time I did, I was just sitting there and watching. And I guess my father could tell my frustration. And he kind of looked at me and he said, "You want to try it?" Like, yeah.
With a boy, you were the only girl in the class. Yeah,
right. It was the boys. But you still had to sit there and just watch. And my dad's like, "You want something?" Like, yeah. And I just jumped in there. I guess just because it was a little bit more free flow, and I really took to it. And again, this is at a time when there wasn't a girls division; it was just boys. So
were you able to master that with boys? I mean, did you, you know, win any of those? Or
we're talking about ages 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
strength is equal, you know.
Yeah, before the boys mature to a that's a whole other deal when that kicks in. Yeah, exactly.
So I started competing on a local level, and I had really short hair.
Competing girls against girls?
No, boys, there were no girls. So
wow, no girls at all. Okay.
Boys. And this was up in Northern California. And, you know, my dad, you know, everybody knew that he had a whole bunch of kids. And you know, I couldn't tell, that girl, that boy, short hair, 8 years old. And I just went in, I would just put my initial, J, Castro, and just go in there. And my first tournament, I didn't win. I think I came in like 3rd place, but that's pretty good to place, especially
against boys.
Against boys. For me, it didn't really matter because, you know, to instill that fearlessness, just go. And if you get nothing, you get back up. And this is kind of funny because I had done that for about 6 months and it was great. Won, lost, but actually got my share trophies. And then there's this one big tournament, it was called the International. It was huge. And it was the International because it attracted martial arts from all over the world. And my father was one of the officials, and they would have a big officials meeting the night before. And my father was personal friends with the producer of the tournament. And he said, "I'm going to bring it up that, you know, I brought you down, that you've been competing and that you wanted to compete in the big international." So I was like, okay. I brought my kid, was all excited. Father went to the meeting, and then he came back and he goes, "My daughter, I'm so sorry. They took a vote. And no, you cannot fight." Gosh, no. And it wasn't like my first tournament. I was ready for this, especially this was a big tournament. And I'll never forget, my father said the reason all of the other black belt officials, they're all school owners, why they voted it down, that June could not fight against the boys, because if she were to beat the boys would feel bad.
Oh, too bad. Their egos. June, hang on right there. We're going to take a very quick commercial break from one of my sponsors, My Vital C, and we're going to come right back and get more into everything that you're doing. Such wonderful things that you've got going on right now in this world of martial arts. We'll be right back.
I want to share with you a product I've been using for the last month, known as the most powerful antioxidant on earth. It's called My Vital C. My Vital C will not only help you feel healthier, but research shows it will aid in a longer life. And since using My Vital C, here are the things that I noticed: that I have no more restless sleep. It's so much easier now for me to fall asleep. And as you know, sleep is a great immune system booster. I'm also supporting my immune system with antiviral and antibacterial properties, and not to mention the high levels of antioxidants I'm receiving. So the bottom line here is I simply feel better. And now I'm recommending My Vital C to all my clients, my friends, and my family. To order this life-changing product, go to the link myvitalc.com/balanced life. Make sure you take advantage of the 25% discount on subscription. You can cancel at any time. Use the coupon Balanced Life for an additional $15 off your first order. Go to myvitalc.com/balanced life and check out this life-changing product right now.
We're back. We're back here with my guest, June Castro. June is martial arts aficionado, I must say, and we were just talking about her early years of competing, and when she was one of the only girls when she was young in competition, and the boys didn't want to risk losing against her because it might hurt their feelings. I mean, too bad. But back then, I guess when did that change, June? How did more women or girls start to get involved in the martial arts and karate? And then you were able to compete evenly with them.
Well, what I ended up doing, because that didn't sit well with me, and I felt was real unfair. The following year, I went in as a boy. No real disguises. Again, 8 years old. I went in as a boy, and I competed, and I made it through. I mean, that was the.
No, wait. So you went in as a boy?
Mm-hmm.
People thought you were a boy? You had short hair, so you.
A little short hair, and
whoa!
You're 8 years old, and you see those movies where they do all these disguises. No, I just went in. I went in, and my division, the 8 to 10-year-old, was the largest division. There was 3 rings you had to go through. I went through all of it. I think I got 4th place right before the finals. And I just kept doing it. I just kept competing. And then other instructors started seeing and kind of getting, I guess my dad would say stuff. And they kind of got it that, hey, it's his daughter. And they started bringing in their daughters. And then within 2 weeks,
cool.
There was a girls division. Wow,
very cool. So you kind of created the competition of girls in martial arts, definitely here in this state for sure. Wow. That's very impressive. Very cool. So you went on and you kept competing in this male-dominated field, but more and more girls started to get involved with it. And so having growing up now, becoming a teenager and then a young woman, how did that parlay into, did you know from that age that that's the career you were going to kind of follow in your father's footsteps?
No, I mean, even with I can speak for my brothers and sisters. By the time we were in our teens, we're like, okay, now we kind of want to do some other things. I remember my sister wanted to try out for cheerleading, wanted to do some other after school activities, but my parents ran a business, so there was no choice. So we had to go. We had to be there, and we had to help out. So yeah, there was kind of a little struggle, but I guess late teens, 20s was like, I loved it. Not necessarily to do it as a profession, but I did it, and then incorporating the fitness aspect of it, and again talking about the male dominated field, and especially going into the combat sports where there's more contact and all of that. And I mean, I tell people it's good to know your self-worth, but when you're playing with the big boys in their arena, you got to prove yourself, and you got to prove yourself beyond. And that's just the way it is. And size does matter. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Size does matter, but so does skill, and so does the element of surprise. And
right. Right, I would think so. And I think not that you had to compensate for anything, but I mean, what a badass, right? So
Well, I
you
know.
knew you had to have control of your mind, to take control of your body, your mind being pushed through, in spite of the size or in spite of the male domination, in spite of, the fact that this is the family business, you push through. I mean, that tenacity is got a lot of worth, and I think can take you such a long way, and yet you're doing things that empower you anyway. And then you went on to open your studio and empower other people as well. So let's talk about that. And then I want to get into the TV show that you're doing now, where everybody can get involved with you as well. And I know you're writing a book. I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Um, so you went on to make this obviously your career. Your passion took you and your training basically took you to go ahead, and you have a studio now in Monrovia, California. What kind of things do you do there? What kind of training? And I know we're in COVID, so you've been limited, and you can talk about what you're actually able to do now too.
It's really interesting because after being at just real fighters gyms and doing that for a number of years, and it was this. He was a kickboxing instructor, and he came up to me and he said, "Jean, you should really teach at this place I'm teaching at. They do kind of fitness stuff." And I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, you should come and do a class with me, and you should teach there." And it was so funny. It was the start of the whole kickboxing craze, the whole thing. I stepped into that gym and I go, "Oh, here are all where the women are," because where I was training, one, maybe two, and it was kind of interesting. And I did start teaching there, and that's where I met my husband. He was at the time he was an active fighter. When he retired with 8 championship belts, a pro fighter. And it's funny. It's kind of my little pet peeve of when people know that we're together and they go, "Oh, did you do this class? And that's how you got together?" And I'm like, "Oh my God. I've been doing the martial arts since I was a kid, and I did Muay Thai 5 years before I even met him." But
there again is that male-dominated world rearing its head, saying, "Oh, wait, I don't understand how could you have that kind of background?" So but you do.
It was kind of cool because it was a new facility. I mean, they had opened up a new one. He taught the 4:30 Muay Thai class, and I taught the 5:30 boxing. So it's kind of cool that to meet on an equal level rather than, an instructor and student. And he knew who I was. So that was kind of cool. We got together. And again, because of his training, his background, he was an active fighter, took my level from here to shoot right up there. So that
because you could train together.
It was great. Once we both kind of knew that, yeah, this is the one, we knew we were gonna, once we got married, we we're gonna open up a place together, and it was time, and we did, and that was actually in 2003. We opened actually was as the first type of gym where we taught Muay Thai, boxing, and then we taught it technical, and he's a fight coach, he's the head coach, so we had a team, but a lot of people train for the fitness and the self-defense aspect. So we've been doing that for a number of years. The name of the camp, they call it a camp or a gym, is called Sit Yod Tong USA. And actually that's after a very famous camp in Thailand, where the West Coast branch of the famous camp Sit Yod Tong, they're known worldwide for producing legendary champions. And interesting enough, when my husband and I were about to open, he wanted to get a last fight, or I'm going to fight one more time, I'm going to fight in Thailand, train and fought. And it was the founder who came up to him, Yod Tong, and said, "I hear you're opening up a gym in California. Yes, me and my wife." And he goes, "Okay, you're my West Coast branch." So that level of to put on him, he never took that lightly, and he's pushed forward, and we brought the West Coast to Tong and made them proud. And we have a fight team with Muay Thai and MMA. But again, people they don't realize that fighters don't pay the bills, and fighters are a rare breed, and that's about maybe 8% of the enrollment. Everybody else is training for fitness, for self-defense. We have a lot of women who train. I have a kids program that's age specific. So, you know, your 3-year-old won't be training with an 8-year-old. So that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
I've seen, some parents have come in and said that their kid was training with their 8-year-old was training with an adult. And I was like, oh, no. So the classes are age specific. It is difficult, and it's difficult for everybody with the COVID, but we are fortunate that we have a huge gated parking lot. So we have, you know, the tents, we have mats.
So you're outdoors now. You're doing classes outdoors. Okay.
I mean, is it challenging? Yeah. I mean, look what our summer was like. What, triple digits and then fires. So yeah, we, you know,
I teach outdoors too, and we've had some challenges with weather and smoke in the summertime, and now I teach a very early morning class outside, and it could be 35 degrees out in that early morning as the sun is rising. And we're all in down jackets and gloves, but we're doing it, you know, we're out there, we're doing it. And slowly but surely things start to peel off, you know, and it get warmer. You just, like everybody, you know, we've had to reinvent and figure out the best ways to do it. Is the optimal way? Definitely not. Yes. But we're all moving forward. This way that we're doing this podcast today is definitely not as optimal as both of us being in the studio and sitting across from each other. But, you know, you do what you do and what you can do when you're thrown a curve like this. I want to talk a little bit about, because it's so cool that you have this studio and you're doing so many things for all these years, but I want to address in the time we have left, part of the time, women empowerment and these self-defense classes or courses that you teach, and whether you're still doing that. And I think you probably have to be in person to do these kind of classes, not kind of a Zoom thing that would work that well. Talk about what that is and how, because I think I have 2 daughters and now 1 granddaughter, and my kids, I made them do self-defense classes. My oldest daughter did a little Krav Maga for a while, which is the Israeli form of martial arts. And I know that's a self-defense form. And I just think it's really important for women, men too, but especially women who, like you said, don't have the propensity to go towards this kind of training. And not to mention what I said at the top of the show, all the things that it does for you from the outside and the inside. But talk about what you do for women to empower them with self-defense.
For years, I made my living by doing women's self-defense seminars. And, you know, I stopped that for a reason. A seminar like that for me just ended up giving women a false sense of security. The chances are the only time you're really going to be able to pull it off, if you have to, is the next day after the seminar. Fighting rather than self-defense. Self-defense to me is kind of dated.
Interesting.
And here's the reason: when you defend yourself, who's dictating the fight? The opponent's dictating the fight. It's fighting, and we have to. Women, we're nurturers. Men are the protectors, but when the men are attacking the women, we got to get in there, and we're not. Oh, I'm going to block this. You block. When somebody hits you and you block, is that stopping them? It's not stopping them. So women have to think about fighting. You have to fight, if not for yourself, because sometimes they can't pull that out. Well, then you fight for your children and you fight for your family if somebody taken away from your family, but you have to fight. It's not, oh, I'm going to do self-defense. And I mean, I stopped that because of it. And here's another reason too. Let's say the average person got their driver's license, men or women, at say 16. So you studied for it, you did it, you passed the test. But let's say you never go behind the wheel for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And then all of a sudden you're given some directions that you got to go and you got to go now. Even with the GPS, are you going to be able to do that? No. Because
muscle may have memory, but practice is what.
So remember when you got your first driver's license, and how scary it was. And now, you know, you can drink coffee, you can do this while driving. So, and fighting is a perishable skill. It's something that has to be honed. There are so many variables that go on. You can't think, it has to be ingrained. So rather than a class, ladies, train in Muay Thai, train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, train when you think about MMA, because MMA, defined by the fighters of UFC, let's say, is boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling. It doesn't matter where the fight goes. If it goes from standing to the ground, from the ground back up. And again, you win by knockout or submission. That's one of the art or the sport of MMA is one of the closest things you're going to get to the street. So why not train like that? Why not? Why do a fake little class that's put together so the girls kind of feel empowered?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think if you take, there are takeaways you could probably take from the class that will stand tall. It maybe, some sort of memory or reflex will come into play rather than having no defense at all in a situation. I think that's true for like CPR classes or whatever, which is why as a trainer and a fitness instructor, I get recertified every year because things change, number one, and I forget, number two. So, it's
fight. You forget there's one thing with the anxiety of say CPR, but when we're talking about a fight, you're talking
adrenaline.
About you're talking about the fear. You cannot just hurt somebody. You have to incapacitate them because they're just going to come after you with a vengeance.
So let me ask you, have you ever been faced with and had to apply the skills that out on the street? Is there a story there?
I've had to defend myself on more than one occasion. And of course, I'm lucky and happy to say that it fared well because for me, there was no other option. The first situation I had got into as an adult, I remember it was against two. And I remember after being nervous, and at the time I wasn't, because the thought was, what if I didn't know anything? What would they have done to me? And that's what really kind of jolted me. What if I didn't know anything?
What did you do? Was it a male or female situation?
It was two males.
Oh, geez.
It was two males. But again, when you look at a person and you look at them, they still have vital areas. Yeah, you're not going to compete with them in a sport, but they still have eyes. They still have throat. They still have solar plex. They still have, the growing area. They still have vital areas. And even if somebody's big, they're still coming to you. And again, stuff has to be ingrained. What we can take away, say, from a seminar is the awareness and not putting yourself in a situation, of course. But to be able to pull off those skills comes from training and has to be ingrained. This was years ago. And I was going for a job interview in the financial district of San Francisco. So I went, I got the job. I had gone, I guess it was in the afternoon. And I was kind of new with driving and I had so many brothers and sisters, they mainly did the driving, but I did this on my own. And I remember after the interview, and I walked out, and from daylight, all of a sudden it was dark. And I just was not familiar with the area. And I was looking, now forgetting where I parked my car. Was it up here? Was it down here? So one of the first things when you're walking alone is to look like you know where you're going, because attackers, they're cowards. They're cowards. They'll attack somebody. That's why they attack women. If they were tough guys, they go to a biker bar and they kick down those bikes, or they be MMA. They are cowards. So when you cowl down, when you're afraid, they're going to come after you.
Yeah, they can smell it. And they look for vulnerability. They look for
body language. So it was kind of confusing. Will I park up the street? Will I park down the street? Then I see these two guys on the kind of coming right towards me. They're pretty big guys. Maybe about a block away. And I looked, kind of said something. And the thing is not to second guess the intuition, that little voice inside you. I tell people that little voice doesn't get any louder. So you listen to it. Don't, oh no, that's not right. I don't think that. No, listen to it. It's telling you something. So as soon as I saw them, I crossed the street. It's like, you avoid it. They saw that, so they had other intentions and they crossed the street. So I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I mean, you fight as a last resort, and you always want to try run, but if there's some place to run to, if you're just running aimlessly, and then by the time you're caught, you're all out of breath. again, you're fighting on your terms and not letting them do it. Or and again, distance. Learn that from the martial arts and combat sports. Distance. Whoever controls the distance controls the fight. And if you know that, and you're standing, say we're in a confrontation, and you're standing at a certain distance, I'll know what can that guy hit me from that distance. No, what does he need to do? He needs to step in. Do I wait till he steps in and throws a punch, or do I intercept on a movement? I'm intercepting and I'm stepping in. I'm taking the fight.
So is that what you did? Did you step
in?
When
they kind of started walking towards me, then they started doing, of course, the chatter and saying stuff that just not nice things.
No, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. And you know, I tried to say, hey, you know, I'm meeting my boyfriend right over here. You guys better get out of here. And so that whole thing, and they're not going. Then one walked on one side, the other walked on the other side. And just, you know, and there were some people kind of looked, nobody wanted to help or didn't get involved. And so I knew that I had to do it. I made the decision we're going to do it on my terms. I'm not going to wait till they fix each other. Let's go grab them. Wasn't going to do that. So one was here. I kind of took a step back. I said something, and I knew when I was going to say it, it was going to happen then. And that's exactly what happened. So I said it. And even when I was saying too, you know, my boyfriend's going to meet me, I'm going to meet him right over there. And they said, baby, you ain't got anybody but us. And when they said that, that it's got to go. And can't be afraid. You just got to do it. There's no other option. So when I said what I said, I kind of knew what was going to happen. The first guy went and threw a big old haymaker. And again, well, there's distance. So as soon as he threw it, and you know, of course, watching too, as soon as he threw it, I kind of evaded back. So once he swung through, of course, what's he gonna do? He came back. So as soon as he did that, when he threw that first punch, I just kind of rocked back. And when it came back, I caught it and hung on to it. And I did, and I'm in high heels, ladies. I'm doing this in high heels. I did this. You don't have time to take it off and put my running shoes on. Did this. I did a fast front kick right between the legs. He's going down. Before this other guy's coming at me, just from hanging on and doing this, I did what's called a back kick or a side kick with high heels and kicked him right, you know, it happened.
And I bet they had no idea what they were dealing with. So in the few minutes that we have left, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about this TV show you're doing, what it's called and how we can access this and what it is.
Yay. It's called June Castros Fight Fit Bootcamp on the El Rey Network. It's a 1-hour fitness-based show. The difference is that we combine fitness with fight drills from combat sports. So you're gonna do some punching, some kicking, some kneeing. You're gonna do sprawls going down, coming back up. You're also gonna do plyometric drills from jump knees, chest to push-ups. It's an easy to follow format. You do your best. Like any other class, whatever you put into it, that's what you're gonna get out of it.
I love that. I love it. And I had the opportunity to watch a show. It's very empowering, very motivating, very makes you want to just get in there and do the class. But I watched it, of course, while I was getting ready today. So I couldn't do it, but I'm going to go back and do the moves because I do have a kickboxing background and this is familiar to me, but with a more a discipline, should I say.
Well, and you put a lot of intensity behind it, so it's intense.
I love that intensity. And what's so cool is that you're giving the audience, you're giving the general population an opportunity to work with you, who otherwise maybe can't come physically to work with you. But if they can and they want to work with you, where should they go and how should they reach you?
Right now, the easiest way to reach me would be on Instagram, June Castro, at June Castro _ or my Facebook page, official page, June Castro. Just message me. Our gym is located right here in Monrovia, California, about 20 minutes east of downtown LA. We're all set up for training outdoors. So it's great, guys. Train. No excuses.
Love it. And again, to access the TV show, it's the El Rey Network, and people should go to their local cable station or their streaming service and see who's providing. It's not streaming yet?
Not streaming right now.
Okay.
El Rey is not, but check your cable provider to see the El Rey Network Monday nights, Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. and a repeat at 8 p.m. This Monday, the episode is called Burn It Down, In It to Win It.
Oh, I love it. I love it. They're very, very empowering. They're just, there's a lot of energy behind it. So you guys are going to want to do this.
And it doesn't matter what your level is, your fitness level. It doesn't matter. Follow along. Do your best.
Yeah, do your best. Which is perfect. Yeah, I love it. You break it down. You break it down into sections, and then you have an ab section at the end, and then you have your June's Corner where you answer a question or tell a story, which is lovely. And you have a book coming out really quickly. Tell us about that book.
I'm working on my father's book. It's his life story. Great Grandmaster Ralph Castro, his art, his life, his way. And then also I have a women's self-defense guide coming out in the spring. Feminine Fury, Pucker Up and Fight. So, I mean, it's building that confidence, getting that awareness, and having the information. And then really, you can't really learn from a book or a video. Go out and seek out a martial arts school, combat sport. Do the work, ladies. Give yourself the gift of confidence. Do the work, learn from your mistakes, and step up to those challenges. You got to have the confidence behind the eyes.
I love it. And final words of wisdom? Yeah, I think you just said it, but very final words. All right. I got to thank you, June. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for coming on my show. Stephanie's been telling me about you for a very long time, and it was like,
Stephanie trained with me. That's how we became friends. She trained.
So that's how we became friends too. And I'm going to meet you in person soon enough when all this craziness is over. So I thank you again. Hang on. I want to thank my audience for joining us today, and I want to tell you to keep going out and having those conversations that connect to a healthier you. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Bye now. Bye, June. Thank you.